Hello and welcome to our week 3 highlights video. Before we get to the highlights for this coming week, just kind of a review of what we covered in week 2. The focus was Franciscan heritage and servant leadership. We read in Gali about St. Francis' journey from being sort of a self-centered sinner to being the founder of a religious order, and the different stories that occurred along the way in that transformation that he had. We also looked at a PowerPoint that was posted on Moodle that covered the FSPA, that stands for Franciscan Sisters of Perpetual Adoration, their history, and also Viterbo's history. Something from that video that if you just kind of skim through it quickly, maybe you'll want to go back and review. In fact, I would recommend it for everyone, is to review the Franciscan values that are gone over towards the end of that PowerPoint. These Franciscan values are also the core values at Viterbo University. And there's 5 of them. They are integrity, which is the idea of honesty and behaving with ethics. Stewardship, which is being mindful of what you have given, what God has given you, or being mindful of things that perhaps your workplace or through family you've been entrusted with to take care of, and being mindful of how those resources and gifts are utilized. Contemplation is the 3rd Franciscan value. This is the idea of being simply being mindful and present. The idea of slowing down instead of getting wrapped up in the busyness of life, to take a moment to think about and reflect on life and things that you're currently experiencing, so that you can interact with people in right relationship. The 4th Franciscan value is service. It's pretty self-explanatory. We are called to not do things for our own benefit, but for the benefit of others and the common good. And lastly, hospitality, which is welcoming the stranger as a special guest. When you look at that PowerPoint, Viterbo has some very specific definitions for these 5 values that we utilize here at the university. And you'll see, and when I say we use them here at the university, these values are really integrated into community life here at Viterbo, not only in our curriculum, but how we interact with each other as a community of learners. You'll even see, if you ever are able to get to campus, you'll see these values posted on banners throughout campus to keep them in the forefront of everyone's minds, so that they really get integrated into our lives, not only within the walls of learning at Viterbo, but outside in our everyday lives. We'll be looking at these values a little more deeply this in week 3, and so that's why I suggest that you review that section of the PowerPoint, just to refresh and have things bright in your mind as you utilize them in a discussion board. Actually, it's not a discussion board, it's the deliberation paper that you're going to be working on coming up here. Last week, we also looked at servant leadership. Very briefly, there was a video entitled "What is a Servant Leader?" that everybody was asked to watch. You didn't really do anything with that video. This coming week, everybody's going to be participating in a video discussion forum about that video. So just to kind of give everyone my take on servant leadership, since that is an area of focus in my studies and in my life. Everyone is a servant leader. It isn't some sort of special calling or vocation or training that you need. Really, everyone is called to be of service to each other in the common good. A servant leader is someone whose motivations in life are not self-centered. The motivation is to empower the other, so that the other can be of service to others as well. It's kind of like this the ripple effect or the domino effect, that we lead from a place of service as a mentor or role model, so that those that we are serving are then called to lead from a place of service as well. So if you haven't had the opportunity to study servant leadership in depth here while you're at Viterbo, if it's a new concept to you, don't think that, oh, well, I haven't had that training, that's a leadership style that I am not familiar with. That doesn't mean that you aren't a servant leader or that you can't embody the servant leader that you are in the future. It's just a matter of being mindful of the fact that you're a servant leader, that you're called to be a servant leader, and to frame your interactions with those you serve through the lens of servant leadership. So like I said, there's that discussion board. I can't wait to hear everybody's take on servant leadership and how they are called to be a servant leader in their communities. So for some more highlights for week 3, since we're segueing that way, our learning focus this week is still on Franciscanism, and specifically on charism. That's actually not a word that you're gonna read anywhere in this week's readings. But if you're not familiar with that word, charism is like a calling, a purpose, a fire within you that motivates you in your relationships with others, on a familial level, work, neighborhood, everyone. We have some sort of relationship with everyone that we encounter, even the stranger. And so a Franciscan charism is a specific way that we are called, that we are it's just like this natural impetus to interact with people in a certain way through the Franciscan lens in this case. Now, some of you may not have identified yet that you have a Franciscan charism, and the fact is that all of you, to some degree, do have a Franciscan charism simply because you are a student of Viterbo University. There are a multitude of universities, especially since this is an online course, that you could have chosen from. But there was something about the way we do academia here that drew you in. And I would propose that it is that Franciscan charism. Because, as I said, those Franciscan values are really imbued in what we do here at Viterbo. And you, through the people you spoke with, as you went through the discernment process or the application process to be admitted to Viterbo, as you were looking at various universities or other types of schools, there was something about Viterbo that really spoke to you, and I think that it is that charism. So I think all of you have a Franciscan charism to some degree. So we're going to look at that more specifically through the lens of those core values that we have here at Viterbo. We're also going to continue our conversation on servant leadership, and then more specifically service learning, which is a learning style that is different than traditional learning, and really is a good match with servant leadership. So you have some independent learning you're doing this week. Everybody is to read Gali, chapter 7 through the end of the book. And so last week the reading kind of focused on the stories that of how Saint Francis was called to found a religious order. This week we're going to look at the stories about Saint Francis the Saint and his ministry and how he really tried to imitate Christ in all of his relationships. You're also going to read in Loeb chapter 4, and this chapter is entitled "The Cynical Smirk." The topic is, we're going to look at how when people think about social justice, working or advocating for social justice, or even using ethical decision making, how there's a tendency in American society to be cynical, to say, to rationalize not getting involved because it's not going to make a difference. Some of the talk that's run through my mind in the past is, well, what is little old me going to do? What do I don't really have anything to offer. What could I possibly do to make a change in this issue? And because of that cynicism, I don't get involved. So we're looking at that tendency and how to squash those justifications, and understand that, in an effort to understand that all of us are called to be involved in some way, and it doesn't take some big monumental action or personality in order to help affect change, that it takes each one of us to do our part in whatever way we're called to in order to affect change. So we have some assignments for this week. The first thing is to start working on your second deliberation paper. This paper is due in 2 weeks on Sunday, February 7th. I would really encourage you to begin your research and, writing, at least get a outline of your paper done this first week. So don't procrastinate, so that then the week that it's actually due, you can do some more intensive writing, have time to proofread and get to do revisions and that sort of thing. The topic points that I'm looking for as I read these papers. The second deliberation paper, the focus is on Franciscan values. So I'm looking that you're going to define each of those Franciscan values using stories from St. Francis's life to illustrate the values. And the second thing I'm looking for is that you give some practical examples from how you in your own life do or could live out these 5 values. Once again, it's 3 to 5 pages. Make sure you properly cite your resources. And once again, external resources are required in writing these papers. It's the same rubric that we used for the first deliberation paper. The second assignment to work on this week is the Loeb Q&A. This one will be on Chapter 4, the cynical the cynical smile, and it's due on Sunday, January 31st. Under service learning, we've got paperwork is coming due in regards to your service learning project to get that ball rolling. The following things are due on Saturday, January 30th. There's an activity waiver or a liability waiver. There is a link to that online form in Moodle, and it's something that you provide an electronic signature for. The second thing is to update your emergency contact information in VitNet. This is something that you may have done in the past as part of your admission procedures, but even if you have done it in the past, there's a link to VitNet. Log into VitNet. You'll see it under one of the menus. It's emergency contact information, and just check that to make sure that everything is up to date. The third thing is the pre-service learning survey. You should have all received an announcement email with the link. I've also put the link under week 3 in Moodle. It's a link to a SurveyMonkey survey. The purpose of this survey, this is something that Viterbo does with all service learning students. Viterbo was tracking your perceptions prior to your service learning experience and how those perceptions, as far as you're working with the common good, how those perceptions have changed after doing your service learning project. So there will be a post-service learning survey at the end of the semester that I will get to you guys as well. But this pre-service learning survey, go online, fill out the online survey by Saturday, January 30th. And the last bit of paperwork for now is due on Saturday, February 6th. It's the service learning proposal. And this is a contract between yourself, myself, and your community partner in regards to your service learning project. The purpose of it is to make sure everybody is on the same page. If you haven't had a chance to look at it yet, there are some goals that you indicate that you have for your project. You need to get the signature from a representative of your community partner. You also need to sign it, and then I would sign it as well. So once you have filled out the information you need to fill out on it, you've signed it, and you've gotten that representative signature, scan it, and then there's a submission link in Moodle week 3. Oh, no, it's not on week 3. I think it might be in week 4. That you submit it then, and we have that for our files here. Hang on to that form, because come the end of the second session, for your final paper at the end of the second session, you're going to be asked to review those goals that you had set up for yourself now, and talk about how those goals, if you met those goals, perhaps those goals changed during the course of your project, how they changed. So that's something that you'll want to hang on to now, and so that you can refer to at the end of the semester. Once again, don't procrastinate with these things, especially this service learning proposal. That's why you have a little bit longer to get it. Sometimes it's hard to connect with a representative to get a signature. Believe me, it happens every semester that I have someone who's like, I can't get this in on time, and it's because they waited until the week of, and whoever they need to talk to or get a signature from is on vacation or has umpteen meetings, and they just can't connect. So don't procrastinate. There are 2 discussion boards this week. The first is a service learning project discussion. Use the online discussion board participation rubric as you participate in this discussion board. Basically, everybody is going to share with everyone else in the class where they're going to be doing their service learning, what your goals are, whatever you want to let us know about your project. And the question, the initial question for that discussion board will give you some more specific information about what we'd like you to share. The second discussion board for this coming week is on that video, what is a servant leader? Use the video online form rubric for this. This is the first time we'll be using that particular rubric. What I'm looking for when I'm using that rubric to grade these discussion boards is that you demonstrate that you watched the video and understood the key points. I'm looking for you to analyze those key points with your own thoughts. This is not a synopsis of the video. This is, I watched the video and these are my thoughts that I had while I was watching the video, or after I've had some time to process what I watched. This is what I think about it. The third thing I'm looking for is that you use outside resources to support your analysis or opinion in that discussion board, and make sure once again that you cite where those resources are from, and then also that you offer some personal experiences in support of your opinion. Let's see, and besides that, with the discussion boards, just a little clarification on all discussion boards in this class. You are required to post a minimum of 2 times per discussion board. Now, when you do if you do just the minimum of 2 postings, you will get a C grade for that discussion board, regardless of how well you met the criteria in the rubric. That 2 posts is average participation. If you are looking for an above average grade for the discussion board, you'll post more than 2 times per discussion board. And the reason for this is to create as much of a true discussion-like format as we can online. If you think about it, if this was a face-to-face class, we would be meeting 4 hours during the week in a classroom, and over the course of that 4 hours, if we were talking about a particular topic and you only offered insights twice on that topic over the course of 4 hours in that week, that wouldn't be a whole lot of participation in that topic, especially since this is a discussion-based seminar class. So we're looking for active, engaged participation. So if you want an A or B, you'll post more than twice per discussion board. All right, I think that's all that I wanted to go over with you guys for this coming week. Once again, if you have any questions, you can text me, email me. I am happy to help you out with any questions you have about the service learning, since that's we're kind of getting down to the wire with having that stuff solidified. Great. I'm enjoying reading your discussion boards so far, and look forward to more rich insights from all of you. Have a great week. Oh, see, this is frozen. See, this is the great. I think I can get it to stop now.